Yay! Kay, I am so freaking grateful for you. Everyone meet Kay. Kay is been in our lives for, gosh, what, 4 years now? 3, 4 years, and
Yeah.
has served on Elsa's board and served for NoMore. She's officially our accountant on both ends and has done this just as an act of service and some yummy, amazing products. She's been extraordinary in helping us to keep and maintain our nonprofit status and our filing and helping us with all these huge questions that we have no idea how to answer. So many times now we've come to Kay like, oh, we're such a mess. What do we do? And she's just gone through it and fixed it in a calm manner. And thankfully we made it through. So Kay, thank you so much for being on today as our speaker and for walking us through some finance world.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin. It has been a few years. It's definitely been a learning experience, and so I definitely greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Oh gosh, much more on this end. Well, Kay gave us a list of 10 that we're going to go over. And so while we go over, everybody log in your questions if you have anything that comes up or any inspiration, something you want to ask at the end. And Kay is an accountant. She's not a tax CPA. She can probably answer some slight yeah, but more just thinking on the accountant realm and your future in finances. So just keep that in mind. And Kay, is there anything about like what made you go into accounting, and like what do you feel like? Are you passionate more about helping people individually or companies? Like what got you into this?
That's funny. I remember being fresh out of high school, a server at Johnny Rockets, and when you're a server, you usually there's probably going to be one or two customers that you have that are yours on a regular basis. And I had this one person that frequented the restaurant, and she was an accountant. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I used to ask her about her life, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, I would never want to be an accountant. And I was in the medical field for most of my life. And then, I don't know, when I was going through getting my bachelor's degree, I've always had a love for numbers, but I don't know, when I was going through getting my bachelor's degree, they said you change a major 20 times before you finally graduate. I was one of those people. And I ended up getting my degree in finance, actually. And I had no clue what I wanted to do when I got out of school. I actually ended up going back into the medical field. I thought I was going to do, some type of management, practice management. And the healthcare field is what I actually thought I was going to do because I did healthcare for so long. And I ended up becoming a bookkeeper instead. And it just went from there.
Wow. And are you happy with it?
I am really socially awkward, I guess you can say. And so this this has definitely been for me. You don't have to communicate with people unless you go into, unless you're involved with clients on a regular basis or something. But you can pretty much stick to yourself. You're pretty independent, and it's just your knowledge, your skill set being shared with other people, and so it's definitely been rewarding for me.
And you're helping people to have a financially free future. This is a pretty big.
So I work government in my civilian life, but in the private sector, like when on my own time, I do. I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of hey, can you help me here? And it's not even just personal finance. It's, hey, can you help me with this accounting question? Can you help me record this in the books? How do I clean this up? And it's definitely been very interesting.
So you also serve in the military still?
I do.
It's so
this is my 14th year in.
Wow.
Um, so obviously, I mean, I'm past halfway there, so I might as well finish it out.
Wow.
But it's for me, it was a retirement plan. One of the things that I learned from a um, a patient when I was working in the medical field is that when it comes to retirement, you should have multiple streams of income.
Hmm.
And I was
Hmm.
thinking, how can I get multiple streams of income for my retirement? And so military is definitely that for me.
So smart. We talk about that in this class. So this class Fuel is based on health, wealth, and happiness. And that is the goal, is that everyone on in our class obtain 8 streams of income. So that's probably a large number, but whether through like rentals or side jobs or stocks, they all count. So that's what we're going for, because you just never know when you lose your job, or we've seen it already with the collapse of the economy, people that lost retirement. So it's
Yes,
really important.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, I'm so thankful that you're on, and even more that you have saved us for so many years. I am that person who texts you a lot, like, what do I do? So what is the first thing that you would suggest? Should I open up my screen share and to your email to keep us on track?
Can.
Okay.
It's not that. So I know originally it was supposed to be like 10 top things for financial security, but for me, I think it really depends on what stage in your life you're in before you start. When you start making those types of decisions, like are you in your 20s or in your 30s? There's different types of steps you would do to build financial security. But if we're just going to talk about just financial smart decisions that you're going to make on a regular basis, regardless of what age you're at.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's probably, I think there's a spectrum of people in our class. The majority of individuals in this class have, I gotta like really go down, but I would say the majority does not have a retirement, probably has some form of debt, um, does not have life insurance. I would say it's maybe a strong amount. So we're talking, they haven't, I don't think many people in our class have, up until now, a few have never even purchased a stock. So we're kind of like ground zero.
And if you don't purchase stock, if you're not into the stock market, that's fine. To like my number one thing that I think people should do that is an extremely smart financial decision is taking the time out to invest in yourself and investing in yourself. If you don't want to do it through the stock market, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
There is more than one way you can choose to invest in yourself, whether it's going to college, whether it's creating a savings account. Um, it can be anything.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so we're on number 1, which is invest in yourself. So right now we have like ideas of go to college, so go to school.
And school isn't for everybody, so that's what I'm saying. Like it's whatever fits your life.
Mm-hmm. So what are some other things you said? What was the second one?
Oh, sorry. Besides go to college, it could be if you're into the stock market, do a stock market. If you're into a savings account, do a savings account. Put a little money away every month or every week, depending on how you get paid. Just take the time out to actually invest in yourself. You're paying Tim, Tom, and Joe, but you're not paying yourself. You're making sure they're financially secure, but you're not taking the time out to make sure your own
Mm-hmm.
yourself is secure. And so I definitely think it's important for people to actually take the time out to invest in themselves.
And that might look like prioritizing, like changing your priorities. Like some of us on this call might be more interested in eating out than
Yes,
putting it
exactly.
in savings. And then we're not really investing our future.
Exactly. Take that instead of going out to eat all the time. Take those couple of bucks and put it in an investment account. Put it in a savings account. Take the time out now to save.
Do you use, like we were talking about, like apps like Acorn or Roll Over Your Change, or is there anything that you have automated in your life that's really helped you to invest in yourself?
I do Robinhood.
Oh,
Robinhood allows me to do that automatically. It's for those people who are not really big into the stock market, who don't really understand the stock market. So that's me. I like to take advantage of options every now and then. And so that's what has helped me so far. That's where I invest my little money.
And so just so everybody understands on the call, Robinhood is a company that automatically invests for you. And I think all the companies are like good for the world, right?
They don't automatically invest for you. It's an opportunity for you to invest into the stock market. But the special thing about Robinhood is that they like to provide you with tidbits of information that helps you make a better decision in investing into stocks, investing into options.
Okay. And it's an app, or is it like a desktop?
It's definitely an app. I don't know if it has a desktop version. I usually use the one on my phone. It automatically takes money out of my bank account, puts it into the Robinhood account, and then from there I can choose, what stocks I want to invest in.
Okay, and what is like the lowest amount of money somebody has to have to buy a stock? Like, could they buy with $1?
Yes, definitely. There are definitely penny stocks out there. So you don't have to have $1,000 to put into the stock market. And I think Robinhood, and I know Cash App is doing it as well, to where you don't even have to buy a full stock these days. So if you want to buy Tesla, and you see Tesla now is $1,500 per share, who has $1,500 per share that they're willing to invest in one piece of stock? So maybe you want to buy just a small little piece, put $20 in it. Cash App and Robinhood allows you to do that.
And that's called a mutual fund, correct?
Mutual is a little bit different. It's less risk involved with mutual funds.
Is it? What is it? Go ahead.
I want to say it's actually a new thing that they're allowing you to do, to buy small pieces of stock.
Interesting. So normally what a mutual fund is, if I have this correctly, is where multiple people will buy a stock together.
Yes.
And that way you don't have to have 1,500, you could have whatever X amount, and you and other people would buy together, which is called a mutual fund.
Yes, and it's a pool of money going into a wide range of things.
Okay. So in general, my understanding about stocks, which I know we're going out of accounting, but I think it's really helpful to touch. We're going to have to deep dive this on later, but it's really important to have diversity, right? So like you don't want all of the stocks in camera department and then cameras go obsolete. You want to have it like all over the board.
Definitely. It is always recommended that you diversify when you are investing. And maybe you don't want everything in stocks. Maybe you want to do mutual funds. Maybe you want to do bonds. It is definitely recommended that you diversify, because you want to reduce your risk as much as possible.
So bonds are a contract with a company. It's like a loan, and you get the money back. But it's at a much lower rate than if you just bought a stock. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So bonds are more secure if everybody's listening. So like, for example, with a bond, you are loaning money to a company, and you can do this with governments. Governments will take loans, and
governments are the biggest bond holders.
They give like a really low percentage back. So with a stock, I'm just going to make up a number, you might get 6%, and with a bond, you get 1%, but it's guaranteed. So it depends on how risky you guys are feeling, and that's why they say to do diversify, and then index funds.
I'm not too familiar with index funds. I know very little about index funds.
Okay. So people would deep dive a little bit into this and figure out what feels good to them. Maybe they do some bonds, maybe they do some co-investing, mutual funds, or the new term, or with Cash App. But just in general, make sure you diversify. And if you're gonna, I was taking a training where I learned the average car payment is $500. I'm there, guilty. And they did the numbers. If you instead, around the age of 25, chose to invest $500 a month in your retirement, you'd be a multimillionaire by the time you
Yes,
retire.
yes. By the time the interest, and it too, I think people also forget too. You know, there's also that chance where 2007 can happen again, and it won't look so pretty. But otherwise, when the market's good, the market's great, and
Mhm.
when you're investing in yourself, yes, you can definitely be a multimillionaire after 20 years or so.
And I think what's important about what happened in 2007 is that it bounced back. So if you
It
study
did.
things like, if you guys have not read yet Unshakable by Tony Robbins, or studied Robert Kiyosaki, he's a big one for gold, buying gold. Tony Robbins says index funds, long term, and diversify. And Robert Kiyosaki says gold, crypto. I see. It depends on who you're studying, but in general, there's a theme where we crash. It's just going to happen. It's
It's
probably going to
gonna
happen
happen.
again in a few months, to reasons that I won't talk about right now. um, but it'll come back. So if all of us can just hold tight, don't rush and pull out your stocks and your investments, just wait it out. It throughout history, since we've had stocks and bonds and whatever stocks, it will come back, right? That's like the trend.
Yeah, and I really feel like it depends on what age you're at. If you're as you get older, as you get closer to retirement, you want to become more conservative with your investing. So you don't want to invest into the stock market when you're getting closer to it, unless you have that type of money. You don't want to invest in the stock market when you become when it's getting closer to your retirement. If you're young, take the time out to invest in the stock market, because yes,
Long
even
term.
if you lose, you will bounce back.
Smart. So somebody who might be closer to retirement could do things like purchase an investment property, or is there anything that you know of that somebody might do who's closer to retirement?
You keep your money where it is. Like if you're already investing in a 401k, TSP, or whatever type of 401b, or whatever type of retirement account you have, keep your money where it is. That's perfectly fine. But just make sure that you are doing less riskier investments, such as bonds or something,
Okay.
instead of the actual stock market. And then if you can, everyone can afford an investment property. But if you can afford an investment property, sure, definitely do an investment property. Now property values are a lot higher. So
Mhm.
if you had gotten it, 10 years ago, it definitely would be paying off right now. I
Mhm.
highly recommend people take advantage of those opportunities if you can
Mhm.
do it, but it wouldn't be something I recommend for everyone. Again, it really depends on your situation.
With the economy perhaps
Yes,
falling quite soon, we might see a drop in real estate. So
exactly.
if anybody's thinking about buying a house, it might be a good idea to wait a little while and pick that up. My mom's thumbing up. Yeah, she did a property. I did a property. It's in escrow right now, but I made $300,000 off buying at the right time and selling right before this hit. So
Oh,
yeah, it's
yes.
luck. So following your intuition and like leaning in. I also want to say that I changed my ideas of rental property and I bought a camper, and I have made 5 times the amount for my camper by renting it out to people on a 3-month contract minimum. So
Oh,
if somebody's on this call and they want to buy a rental property, you can start at a camper like me, do some upgrades to it, and find people who use their own property, not my property, sign a contract, and I make a monthly income off of it. So I mean, I guess we could like change how we might be able to invest, but it's great knowing that we can buy a stock with $1. Like,
yes. And I've seen that, what you said with the campers. I've seen it a lot on Airbnb. That's becoming a really, really big thing now, where people are, renting out as much as a tent on their
yeah,
property.
it's crazy.
And they are making money off of it.
And
But
you can
you,
rent
I
your
mean, if,
bikes out. Like you can
yes.
rent your equipment, your car seats out to moms flying in. Like there's just
Hmm.
so many weird things you can do.
That's why I said, if whatever works for you to invest in yourself, do it.
Awesome. Okay, so I could talk on this. Maybe we can come back to it again later because
Okay.
I love activating our minds and like what's possible and how you can invest in yourself and just how important that is. But let's move to number 2 so that we get through the 10. So number 2, Kay said that you can do is set small goals, pay large purchases in small chunks. So can you elaborate on that one, number 2?
Yeah, the other smart financial decision that you can do is to take the time out to not always buy on a whim, not always make these large purchases on a whim. If you know you want to buy a car this year, take the time, or next year, take the time out to create a bank account, open up a bank account just for this car, and put money into this bank account for as far in advance as possible as you can. And that way, when it comes time for you to actually purchase this vehicle, you don't need to take out a loan. You don't need to finance. You don't need to count on someone else to help you purchase this vehicle. You already planned out in advance. You've made the decision. You knew what you were going to do, and now you're financially prepared.
Mm.
And it's the same thing if you know you want to buy a television this year. Take the time out, have that same bank account, change it to television. You know, divvy up, put $25 in your bank account every week until you're able to buy the television that you want to afford.
I love this because so many of us go and we just buy a car and we don't think about the opposite, because this is what we're trained in the American dream. And you don't realize, unless you deep dive, how much you're paying in interest. Like
Exactly.
The interest on a house is insane. Sometimes it's the same amount or more of the total price of the house that you're paying in interest over a 30-year loan. And that happens with cars. So the more that you guys can save ahead of time, and there's things like with buying a car, say you got into a really high payment like I did, and you're feeling like you might be a bit stuck, you guys can refinance. So it's not too late, right? Once they've already done a large purchase.
No, it's not too late. Refinance only works if you have good credit, though. If you have bad credit, refinancing will not work for you. Your interest rate can definitely turn out to be higher than what it was when you originally purchased. So take care of your credit. If you have credit, if you want to refinance, it's definitely, especially a mortgage as well. It works for a mortgage as well. If you want to take the opportunity, hey, I have better credit now, I want to refinance, lower your interest rates, is definitely a smart decision to do.
Do you have any tips on credit, on how to build your credit?
If you are building credit from scratch, there are so many ways you can do that. I know now they're allowing you to put utility bills on your credit. I am not too familiar with that, how that's worked out for people. But I know taking a small credit card is a great way to help build your credit. Even if it's secured, put down $200 on a credit card and just build from there. As time goes on, the credit card companies, they reevaluate you in 6 months and in 9 months and a year, and they'll increase your credit limit as long as you're not going above that 30%.
And it's really important to make sure you guys pay on time.
On time, in full.
And yes, in full, exactly. So no interest. And if, let's say, you have to carry over a balance, I think it's averaged not to go over your 40% marker of your available credit, right? Is it 40%?
I usually recommend 30%.
Because when you do, that affects your FICO score.
Yes, so that would definitely drag your score down.
So what she's saying is, say you have a $2,000 limit and you only use 30% of that, which would be about $600. And the rest you cannot use because it'll hurt your FICO score. So get a card and only use a small amount. Pay it off in full. Don't do the interest. But if you can't, make sure you never go over that amount.
Yeah, because if you're paying that interest every month, that's more money out of your pocket.
And a lot. Yeah. It's amazing how much they can take depending on your interest.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
and
take advantage. If
Mm-hmm.
you, even if you don't want to do a credit card, a lot of people end up going out, getting a car. That's usually the biggest thing that they want, that they need. Um, do put money down first.
Mm-hmm.
Don't allow your car notes to overwhelm you.
Yes, that's very helpful. I'm writing this notes down too for
Okay.
everybody else. So the other thing too is don't open cards and shut them. Like people open cards and shut
You
them down for their benefits, and that can hit your score.
When you
Um,
close a card, especially if it's been open for a while, you will definitely take a hit.
yeah, yeah. So that's really important. My mom is the connoisseur of credit cards. She has taught me. She has like a 900 score, and she uses miles for everything in her life. She's traveled all over the world using them. And she's taught me a lot. And you can do balance transfers. So if you guys have a card, you still have some good credit, you can transfer for a low interest so you're not stuck. I personally have had to do debt consolidation 10 years ago. I had to use a nonprofit who took all my credit cards, called them on my behalf, lowered the interest rate to the most possible lowest it could go. And then I just paid them one lump sum a month, and it chunked down. I could not open another card during that time. Technically, it did not hurt my credit. They don't report it like you would if you had to file bankruptcy. And it just released me. So this is some of you guys already have debt. It felt like an energetic release. I didn't have to worry about it anymore. I mean, I did, but not to that level where you were struggling and trying to pay 6 credit cards. I've gotten myself in trouble. So there is debt consolidation and nonprofits that do help you if you're already in debt. Do you know if somebody's already in debt, any suggestions you might have outside of what I just said?
If you're already in debt, I highly recommend you coming up with a game plan. So I think this definitely falls under planning. Take a look. Don't be afraid of taking a look at your debt, because I think that's the biggest hindrance for most people when it comes to resolving any debt that they may have. They're just afraid to answer phone calls. They're afraid to open their bills. They're afraid to look at their credit report. Face it head on. Make a list of what you have and put it in order. You can put it in small. Some people say from smallest to largest.
Yes.
Some people say from largest interest rate to lowest interest rate. Either way, put it in order and take the time out to apply small chunks to these large bills, to these large creditors.
And then you can call them and get their interest lowered too, right?
You can get your interest lowered. You can, if you call and you face your even if it's in a collections, you can get that balance lowered. They will negotiate with you. They are willing to settle with you pennies on a dollar. So if you actually take the time out to be brave, find that confidence, do what you need to do, call these people, speak to them. A lot of times they will negotiate with you. Sometimes there may be assholes. If there are assholes, it's okay. It's okay. We don't ignore them still. We still work with them. What can we think about? How can we tackle this? And it'll still be the same. Apply small amounts each month. I used to be in debt. I was married before, had horrible debt after my divorce. I had judgments. I had everything. I couldn't get a clearance in the military. I couldn't do anything. And I had to finally put on my big girl pants, and I had to tackle it. I had to realize, this isn't going to go away. This is ruining my life. I need to do something about it. And so I did. I started organizing my debt, and it took me some years. It was not an overnight process. I think that's a big thing that people fail to realize. It's not going to be tomorrow where this stuff goes away. It's going to be an overnight. You have to be patient with it. But if you apply a small amount of your paycheck each month, you have to be willing to sacrifice something. And when it's all said and done, I promise you, you will love it.
I know that feeling. I've done it 3 times now in my life. And there's also these other, I think when you just set the intention and you make the commitment, there's these magical moments where chunks of money come at you.
Yes.
And if you're diligent about this, you pay off your debt. You don't go spend that money. You pay off the debt. I personally liked doing mine smaller to larger because I felt like I was building momentum.
I did. That's what I did. I did the smallest to largest.
Yeah. And then you might get some interest. You're automatically already saving. And I do personally know too, I've made some calls. One of the girls that's, so somebody in one of the classes went through this experience just recently when they first started doing coaching with me before class started, they had debt and they were just going to let it go. It was in collections and they got a chunk of money. And we walked through the experience of what it felt like keeping it versus what it felt like paying it off. She made the decision to pay it off. She called the collection company and haggled with this one company because it was a 1 out of 3 that refused to go down to the number she offered them. She offered them a number. And it took her like 3 or 4 phone calls and then reaching up to a higher up until that company agreed to take the amount she wanted to offer. Yes. So just like
they will negotiate.
Yeah, keep it going. If they're not giving your number, hang up, get somebody else. Or reach up to the head ups. I personally have had to email the CEOs of Chase to get things solved, which saved me $5,000. But I emailed 3 CEOs. 2 out of the 3 were males. They didn't respond. The one female didn't respond and saved me $5,000. So you can, get crafty, start thinking outside of the box. And I want to say to the one person who did pay that off, she paid it off. And within days, that same amount of money showed back up in her bank account that she paid off all of her debt. Yes. It was a gift from the family and they didn't even know that she paid it off. So I think energetically, when you're in that flow and you're in surrender and you're doing the work, it will show up. The blessings will come.
It will. And I know a lot of people get tax refunds at the end of the year. When people, they go out and they immediately buy TVs or they go out and they buy that brand new sewing machine or something. I promise you, if you just take the time to, even those large chunks of money, to apply it to your debt, it's so rewarding at the end. To not have to worry, not be afraid to answer your phone, to not have to screen your calls.
Yeah. And it's just a sucker. It's an energetic sucker. I think about what some thoughts is investing in yourself on this aspect. If you guys know you can make money by taking a tiny bit of money and like, I don't know, you said sewing machine, but I thought, well, if you know you're really crafty and you can make more money by doing this and pay off your debt, then by all means, trust your intuition. If you can find that, if there is that sweet spot, you might be able to get crafty on paying off that debt. So next one is life insurance. I don't have any. Let's talk life insurance.
Life insurance is definitely recommended if you have assets. If you have a house, you need to have life insurance. If you have kids, you need to have life insurance. If you have anything you don't want your loved ones to worry about when you pass away, you need to have life insurance. Once you get to a certain age, of course, once you reach, your kids are grown and everything's good, you're 60, 70 years old, then yes, maybe you don't have to worry about life insurance at that time. But when you're young, you should definitely have life insurance.
Interesting. I would always think that'd be older, but I see what you're saying now. So like, if you had kids under the age of 18 and something happened to you, they would be SOL.
They would be SOL. Your loved ones would be SOL. And whoever you have taking care of them, now that's an additional expense for them. It's an additional burden, unfortunately, that they weren't expecting. No one was expecting you to die at 35 years old, and now you have your young kids that still have to go through college. They still have to eat. They still have to have clothing. They still have necessities, and maybe the people that they're living with can't afford it. Maybe they can't. We don't know, because now we're in the ground.
Right. And I can speak especially from this last year's experience, choosing to transition from my marriage. And it being so high conflict and not having that same stable ground that I did financially before, when the person taking care of the kids don't have that kind of full support, the kids suffer. The kids suffer. And we don't want to leave the people that we love the most in a place like that.
That is the most important thing, is knowing that the people you leave behind are the ones that suffering. I remember working at this public accounting firm, and one of the CPAs, he was telling me how he kept trying to get this guy to purchase life insurance for him and his family. And the guy kept saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And the guy ended up taking a trip. He never made it back from his trip. He never got that life insurance. And then there was all this debt that his family had to try to figure out how they were going to pay. Because a lot of people don't realize that some of your debt will transfer to your family.
We do have a question, actually. Mom, go ahead, unmute.
Well, it isn't a question, but it's a statement. If you become disabled, which I am, insurance companies will not insure you. So I got to a point once was labeled disabled, I couldn't get life insurance.
So it depends. There are some life insurance companies that will. You have to look for those specifically. My best friend, her mother is completely disabled. She had an aneurysm. She's paralyzed on half her side. But my best friend, I told her all the time, you need to get her life insurance. It's going to be a little bit higher, is the problem. And finally, she did. It's not going to be as much. It's not going to be those $300,000 policies. It's not going to be that $500,000 policy. It's probably going to be like a $50,000 policy. But at least that will cover your funeral costs.
Great.
But they definitely do exist. They're not as many. It's not as much as, they're not as available as those that look for the healthier people, but they exist. They're just a little bit harder to find.
Do you know what the names would be of some of these companies that you suggest?
I can look for some and I can get back to you. But if you look for life insurance for disabled or something, if you just Google something like that, you'll see some of them will pop up. Their rates are definitely higher. They give you less money, but they definitely do exist.
Okay, great. What do you use?
Because I'm military, I have SGLI through the military, and then I also did an additional coverage through USAA. And so for my kid, I made sure that he had, I'm hoping that he'll be taken care of if I have to leave early.
So what my mom just admitted is us kids aren't getting anything. Thanks, Mom.
Well, even if your kids may not be getting something, a lot of people, they want to bury, right? Yeah. I am not one that's for the whole funeral thing. I feel like funerals are such a ripoff. Excuse me. Yeah. I know that may offend some, but for me, I don't want it. I have personally chosen to dedicate my body to science. It's free. It's less of a burden for my family. But for those who want to be buried, who want a casket, that life insurance policy would definitely cover that.
Oh, I love this. You can donate your body completely and then nobody has to pay?
And nobody has to pay. Cremation itself is expensive.
Yeah, bless my dad. He's in his mid-70s and he is disabled with lots of debt and does not have this set up. So it's been something I've been trying to figure out. I too am one who wants to be turned to a tree. So you can get with my essence.
See? There's so many other ways.
Yes. And I know cremation, as well as burials, are pretty hard on our environment. So if you guys can find alternative ways, if you can start having those conversations with your loved ones now. My mom wants us to take like an amazing tour around the ocean somewhere and spread her whatever essence. And I love those things. She wants a stool. That's what it is, a chair with her name on it somewhere. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so number 4, we have 20 minutes left, so I'm gonna.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're doing so good because this is deep and juicy, and I have so many questions on it all. So number 4 is don't compare yourself to the Joneses.
Yes. So a lot of times, as we go through life, we want what everyone else has, and that puts us further and further and further in debt. We start out young, we want that new BMW, but we're not even making BMW money. And so I think that that's a huge thing that keeps us from being as successful as we could be. Just because you get a new promotion doesn't mean you need to add on additional expenses because, you know, your friend just purchased a brand new house, a brand new condo in Hawaii, vacation property. We don't need to keep up with them. We need to focus on our own lives, do what's best for us, live within our monetary means. And I promise you, it would save you a lot of headache.
I just posted a meme that I made that it says, invest in your future, not your ego, because that's exactly what it is. It's the new purses, it's the new shoes. I shop all the time at Savers. I love it's like go to Goodwill. Like, you think about the amount of money that you're spending on these things that do not matter. And if you
don't matter.
Yeah, your future. So don't invest in your ego, invest in your future, and just really look out where you're doing that.
And I'm not saying you have to become a minimalist or anything, but just think about yourself. What do you need in your life? What's good enough for you? And not what's good enough for everybody else. Don't worry about what everyone else is thinking about you.
Oof. I love it.
But if you want to become a minimalist, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. I am much more living that life now than I ever have before, and it is so freeing. Your cleaning is
I've been trying to. It's so hard with my family to become a minimalist. It's like
yeah. I do notice that the blessings and gifts come in when you choose to save, like not spend, and then I will manifest these things free. And I have personally switched to not only save money, but help the environment. And I think when you're doing that both ways, more blessings can come in.
And I'm a huge, I swear, I try to help the environment as much as possible. I wish I worked closer to my home so that I could, bike or something to my job. That's been my biggest dream.
They say, actually, and this will go with savings, you guys, the number one way we can have an impact on the global change is through our food. That we waste so much food as a society, and that's the number one pollutant. And even if there might be some people on the call, let's pray there's not, that don't believe in climate change, the pollution is a known. So when you go around the world, you see it everywhere, plastic. And if you travel, like I have, 45 countries, there's places right now that can't breathe, including some cities like Portland on fog day. So it's here, it's happening. And there are things you can do to help the environment, like Kay's talking, ride a bike, only purchase what you need with food and not throw it out.
Yes. I don't waste food. I'm a huge believer. You can ask my kid. I do not believe in wasting food. It can be in my fridge for a week. We're gonna test it.
Jackie and I are notorious for this. We definitely, everybody's like, "You gonna eat that?" We're gonna eat that. Awesome. So the next one is have an emergency savings, which is number 5, at least 1,000 of paying off debt, 3 to 6 months of living expenses if debt free.
Yes. I think that a lot of times when we're in debt, we're trying to tackle our debt. And next thing you know, we get this blown out tire. Oh my God, how are we going to pay for it? Because we're already putting all of our money towards debt. Well, that's when their emergency savings can come from. I've heard people say that, that's the purpose of a credit card, to help you with in case of emergency. No, that is not the purpose of a credit card. That only puts you in more debt, because now you got to figure out how you're going to pay that back. At least with an emergency savings, it's on your own terms. There's no interest. There's no late fees. There's no harming your credit. Have an emergency savings. If you don't have any debt, do 3 to 6 months of living expenses. I'm pretty sure people who were affected by COVID and who had those couple of months of living expenses, I am pretty sure it paid off for them in the end, because a lot of people have been out of work. And so I think that if you're going to be smart about your money, put money to the side, have it in case there's something that comes across. Life is going to happen. It doesn't matter. I just ran over some metal piece in the road the other day, and completely put a hole in my tire that they said could not be patched. If I had not had an emergency savings, then I would have been stressed. How am I going to take care of this?
So important. We talk about this in class. There's a thermostat in which we keep our minimum amount in our bank. So the class had a goal of increasing that thermostat. Some people had no thermostat. Some people had, 2000 as a thermostat, and that is separate from your savings. So have a minimum amount that you always have in there, and then have a savings. So get yourself out of debt, and then start doing the 3 to 6 months of savings, because you really don't know. You can have an injury and be out of work. And when you have that kind of security in your life, you feel safer. And you more mindful with how you're spending, I feel as well. Okay, so number 6, develop more streams of income, more than one stream of income.
Yeah, sorry, I was typing this in my sleep.
I knew what you meant. I think I read it wrong. I think that was me, not you. Develop more than one way stream. Nope, that was you.
Yes, you need more than one stream of income. It is definitely something I have been taught for many, many years of my life, and it is definitely something I have learned to be true. When you are, for some reason, you have to be out of work. I don't know, maybe you got laid off from your job, maybe you got sick and can't work. If you only have one income, what are you going to do about your bills? Those bills are not going to stop just because you're sick. Life is not going to stop just because you got laid off. There's always going to be someone's handout demanding your money. And so I definitely highly recommend having more than one stream of income.
Yes, we talk. So I have the goal. The class is supposed to have 8 by the time that we're done. This is a conversation that we're having, and it could look, like we were saying, in so many different forms. So whether it's stocks, whether it's renting out your trailer, whether it's a job and a side job like Kay's doing, she's working too. Or, there's just so many ways, using Cash App, or, so I personally have, I teach, I have NoMore, I have Elsa, I have a rent trailer, I did have a home rental, so if you can find your 8, which seems absurd, but could now stocks are 6. And what if it's 8 different stocks? That's a part of it. So awesome. Okay, so number 7. Wait, do you have anything that I didn't say that you would suggest as a stream of income? Any idea?
Stream of income can be, if you're crafty, if you're creative in any type of way, take advantage of that. Use it to make money. Your time is valuable. I know a lot of people are always doing something for free to somebody else because they want to be good, and that's fine. Do that for some people, but also if you can make a living off this, if this can help supplement some of your income, do that for yourself. Don't cheat yourself out of it just because you want to be the good Samaritan. It's okay to think about yourself sometimes.
Yes, especially you're talking to predominantly, there's only one male in our class, and women in general have it ingrained in our DNA. We're servers, and we don't
exactly
what we're worth, and we have to slap that out of ourselves. Another way that I make income is I do surveys. So if you guys aren't signed up yet, you can do Jackson Research, PRC Research. I got paid $200 this month to do research. I did an hour interview on credit cards, and I got paid $200 for it. So there are just so many ways that I've been thinking of. Yeah,
I know it's really hard. I know people keep saying it's really hard to come up with anything, but don't try to reinvent the wheel. Google something. I promise you it's out there. People have already done it. You can do it too.
Yes, Kay could offer private coaching. Or
I could.
So
I could definitely offer private coaching.
Yeah, so skilled. It's so helpful in our future. So number 7 is avoid debt.
Yes, if you can avoid new debt, avoid it. If you can avoid buying that new car with a loan from Alley Financial or something, avoid it. If you can avoid opening up a new credit card, do it. Don't harm yourself. Don't make it more difficult on your life. Take the opportunity to care for yourself and stay away from new debts.
Yes. Yes. Really thinking about what you need rather than what you want, and investing
Exactly.
in the future and looking into the fine print. If you guys are going to get yourself into something, really see what that interest turns to, and then do the numbers. You'd be blown away at how much you're paying. Number 8, you are who you surround, I think, yourself with, is what you
Yes.
want.
Again. It was
So
rough. It was rough that night. I think it's really important to, if you are surrounding yourself around someone who is all about shopping sprees, it's all about living above their means, you're bound to do the same thing. It's going to be hard to be friends with someone who is on a different level than what you are. Sometimes we outgrow the people that we've been friends with, and that's okay. Find someone that has the same mindset as you, that is about being financially healthy, like you want to be.
Or above your mindset.
Oh, exactly. Or above. And that way you can learn from that person. You both can challenge yourselves to do better. And I think that that's very important when it comes to financial health, is challenge yourself to do better. Be better than what you were yesterday.
Love that. No get rich schemes.
No get rich quick schemes. Yes. Yes. I think when we are in debt, we always look for an easy out because we're drowning, we're hurting. We just want this to be over. There is nothing that's going to make you rich tomorrow. If anything, it's going to take your hard-earned savings and it's going to hurt even worse. So steer away from, those, oh, you can be a millionaire by tomorrow. You can have $10,000 in your bank by tomorrow. Stay away from it. Don't do it. Don't set yourself back 10 steps. Stay away from get rich quick schemes. I know someone who's been following them for years, and I promise you, they could be so much further if they weren't into get rich quick schemes.
It's kind of like gambling.
Yes, it's like gambling. You think hey, I just play this a couple of more times, I'm going to make that $20,000 tonight. You don't know. That may not be true.
And it tallies up quickly how much you
exactly. You put $50,000 into it and walked away with $1,000. Was that risk worth it to you?
Yeah, really keeping track of that if you are. So last on the list, number 10, don't forget to save on the little bills. Oh, this is so just, I love doing this. So shop around for insurances, discontinued unused services, like all those monthly subscriptions that we don't realize we have. We do. This is such a good tip.
My biggest, the biggest thing I cut was cable. I wasn't using cable. I was always, doing something else when I get home, whether it was reading, whether it was studying, whether it was going out, hanging out with friends, and so why do I need to pay $200 in cable services just so that when people come over, they can watch my television? Another thing was I realized that, hey, I've been so loyal to this insurance company. I never thought about shopping around for my car insurance. Let me see what else is out there. And so I would go and I would shop around and be like, oh my God, I could save myself $50 a month from getting a new insurance, just from switching. These insurance companies are not loyal to us. These businesses are not loyal to us. So why are we loyal to these businesses?
So important. So important.
So I definitely highly recommend not forget about the little bills. They matter too. If you can save on something, take the opportunity to shop around, see what's out there, look at what you're spending your money on. Is there something that you can cut? Maybe you don't need to get your nails done every single week. Maybe you can go every 2 weeks, or maybe you can go once a month, or maybe you don't need those eyelashes or those hair extensions or whatever it is. You can save your money and put it towards something else. Whether it's your savings account, put it towards debt, anything.
I can't stress that enough. Like, I used to have this conversation a lot in my previous partnership. He was a very little spender, coffees daily, drops at 7-Elevens. And I'm like, it adds up. And if you guys use Mint, if you haven't used Mint yet, Mint is a great platform where you can link all of your accounts, your credit cards, your banks, and then it'll show you where you're spending your money. Debt is an investment. So wherever you're investing your money, and then it'll tally up for that week or that month. So you guys can really check in where you are using it. And another thought is that I appreciate about my previous partnership is when we were in a financial situation, I would always go, well, what do we cut? Like, what are we going to take away? I don't do cable either. And he would always say, where can we make more money? And so I think there's a great balance between the two. In the perfect world is you cut what you're not using, don't waste, and then invest or obtain. How can you, like, some of us have empty rooms in the house. You could be making $1,000 a month, depending on
Rent it out.
Renting out that room. Yeah. So does anybody, we have 4 minutes left with Kay, and I know we already lost one person. Anybody have any questions that we didn't go over, or anything that sparked from the conversation? Oh, Crystal. Go ahead, Crystal. Oh, hold on. Let me unmute you. Oh, there we go.
Okay, sorry. I had to figure out how to do it. So I don't know if you're, I'm getting ready for a photo shoot at the same time. So I'm I don't know if you're familiar with the AmeriCorps program, or it's paid volunteer work. But so I was in the Sheriff's Academy. I still have that $10,000 bill, but I had signed up to be an AmeriCorps, and they would pay that $10,000 bill. So that's the paid volunteer work. I finished it and finished the contract, and I get my money, but they don't necessarily give it straight to you. It goes directly to the college. And the college, I had to reach out to them to see that they would take the payment from the AmeriCorps, and they agreed that they can. But now I'm sending my payment, and because they sent me to the collections before I ended my contract as an AmeriCorps, now they're not accepting the payment. Do you have any suggestions on what to do?
So you're stating that AmeriCorps has already agreed to pay.
Yeah.
There was already disagreement with the school that they were going to accept the money, but the school decided to send it to collections anyway?
Yeah, so I think it was January is when they sent it to collections, and my contract was up in May, and I never got anything saying that it was going into collections or anything. It's just I sent my payment in May, and now they won't accept it.
Did you have anything in writing stating that they were going to agree that?
No.
Okay, well,
it was just a phone call.
Did they send the money back to AmeriCorps?
Yeah.
And so AmeriCorps has the money now?
Yeah.
Is there any way you can see if AmeriCorps paid the collection agency?
I did. I checked, and it has to go to a college just because, like, that's what it's set up for.
That's a tough one. I always recommend to people that they I record calls, get it in writing, something, because for some reason businesses just always seem to backtrack on what they agreed to. In that particular situation, I don't want to say it's a loss, but I feel like, it's going to be hard to get AmeriCorps to pay anyone else besides the school. I definitely think that if they send the money, usually you can get the original creditor to take payment, but you really have to keep calling and keep trying to keep escalating that phone call to get them to accept payment. But in the chance that they don't, then I would have to say you would have to start planning to pay that back.
I would suggest, because I decided to do this 3 different times, get to the CEO.
Yes,
I want
you need to escalate as much as possible.
Yeah, and not give up. They don't give it to you on the phone. I want you to search who the president is of the school, who the vice president of the school, who the administrator is of the school. And I want you to write them a heartfelt email and put in description what happened. And don't, like, if it were me, I would not give up. I would show up at the school, send them the emails first, place the calls in, and then have the AmeriCorps on hold waiting. Like, you are going to get them to take it out of collections, however it has to happen, and fix the situation. That I like. That's what
I have another question too. How long has it been in collections? Is it already on your credit report?
January. I don't know. I don't know how to find that out.
The other thing is too, and this is something, it may not sound right, but when you get a collection letter from a collection agency, there are templates out there where you can dispute with the collection agency. But you usually have to do it within the 30 days. If you do that, a lot of times that avoids it hitting your credit. But I highly recommend you, if you can, if it's already, been too long, to just go ahead and just escalate as much as possible, and see if you can get higher up to listen to you, to get them to accept that payment, because that is something that they agree to.
Have you ever heard of, like, someone suggested that I pay the school, like talk to the school and pay them, but agree to pay the debt collector that late fee or legal fee or whatever it is that they technically, is that an option? Has that ever
Pay
happened?
a late fee to the collection agency?
Like, so my debt with the school, I have it down to 5,000, or 3,000, I'm sorry, but at the debt collectors, they're saying it's 5,000 because of the fee.
Oh, no. So yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. You can definitely get that waived down. When it's at a collection agency, they've already purchased this from the school for cents, right? And so you can always get that waived down. You can always get them, call them and negotiate and get your balance lowered.
Just, it's like 1/3 of it they'll go down to. So whatever 1/3 of the initial price, call them and say, I have $1,000. And you're either going to take this $1,000 or I'm hanging up again. And that's what we're talking about. Go up, go up, go up, go up. I would dispute it on your credit report. And I would email and call and email and send those heartfelt letters. Don't give up, because I did it. I got a hold of Chase's vice president. And that's how I solved my $5,000 issue that was not, it was claimed fraudulent and was not, thanks ex-partner. So, like, don't give up. And it was like 3 months of tears and emails and crying and like calling. So I would dispute, I would call, I would do it. Things. If it's easier for you, call the credit or the collections and say, I have $1,000. You can, like, you're lucky I got stimulus money. I'm a mom or whatever. Like, this is what I have for you. Take it or you'll never get paid. So, like, tell them whatever you need to tell them.
You have to be tough with them. You can't be nice. You can't be gentle, because I promise you, collection agencies, they don't care. They are not concerned about you. They don't want to hear your sad story. You have to be firm.
There's a quote that Sarah's mama told her, that you don't accept a no from a person who is not capable of giving you the yes that you seek. Meaning most of the lower employees just give you a standard answer no. And they don't have the authority or the ability to give you the yes that you're seeking. And follow Sarah's rules. Go higher and higher and higher. Be persistent.
Yeah. And what Kay's saying too, like, that's what she means by escalate. You just work your way up to that person that can do something about it. And you have no idea the miracles that are in store for you from this.
Yeah, I've done the same thing with the school. I don't know if I misunderstood, I misheard. I feel like they gave me wrong information. Either way, I had this $3,000 or $4,000 bill that I never attended the school, and I'm just like, you guys are, what is going on here? And I had to do that. I had to fight it. I started researching, well, what are these templates out here I can get to? And they sent me to collections. I had to figure out, how can I get this off my credit report? And I was not going to give up. It needed to come off. I didn't feel like I owed them any money. So I definitely agree. You can't give up. You have to be firm. They're not nice to you, so there's no need in worry about hurting their feelings.
I do want to add, you got support, girl. So if you want somebody to call on your behalf, call me, and I'll pretend like I'm you, and I will take them on fierce.
I've done that before too. Yeah. I've done that for a friend of mine.
Yeah. If you can't emotionally stay firm, call on somebody to call for you. Yeah. That'll work.
If you need templates, let me know. I will write a letter.
Yeah.
I write angry letters all the time. I have gotten my sister out of leases. I have done everything. You let me know.
Oh my gosh, Kay, I see your future as angry letter writer. There's your 8 streams of income. We've got 2 more on this call. That's amazing. Well, we're 6 minutes past. I feel like I could have, so far you're the first one we've gone past our time because it's so important. Like our money, our future, our financial future is so important to our fuel of life. And I think we could have spent like a week deep diving.
Yes.
So I want to say like huge thank you for coming on. Maybe we can have you back on again later. And if people have questions later, please reach out and I can send it to Kay. Mom, did you have a question or are you just saying thank you? Oh, hold on, Mom, you're muted. Unmute.
Oh, say thank you. Thank you.
All right, appreciate the invite. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. This is definitely be my first podcast, so I am very, very grateful for this experience.
Well,
you did a great job.
Yeah, it's not the last because I'm going to call you for more. And so you know, Kay, a couple of the students from the class are scholarshiped through ELSA. So
awesome.
Big thank you to Kay for keeping the foundation of ELSA going and therefore allowing participants to come sponsored through ELSA. So sharing the pot of service. I will send you the video later so you can use it if you like. And thank you everyone for being who did show up and who watches later.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Have a great day.
Bye.